Deltarune. This game is an incredible experience to play, and Toby Fox, the only developer of the game, has utilized minimalistic elements of gameplay and level design in order to engage the player in a completely unique experience. I will be doing a vague playthrough and explaining Toby's approach to level design of Deltarune Chapter 2's Cyber World. First, a brief background of this game. Deltarune is a RPG where the player solves puzzles and fights monsters with a unique battle system where you don't actually have to kill a single enemy. The story up to this point of the game starts with the player playing as a human named Chris in a world of monsters that live just like humans. You make friends with your classmate Susie and find out that there is a portal in the school that leads to what is called the Dark World. Eventually, both of you find Rauzai, who explains to you that you're pretty much the hero of the world and you have to save the world by sealing dark fountains. And after a long adventure, Chris seals the dark fountain and returns to the normal world. And now we discover that there is another portal in the library, which sets the player off on another adventure. After entering the portal to the Dark World, the player is greeted with a dark atmosphere without really any music or sound. They are then shown a save point and arrows to tell them they can slide down walls. Wires hang from the ceiling to foreshadow the upcoming section, along with NPC dialogue. It is then revealed to you that the wires can actually shock you. As your heart glows up, you have to avoid the shock waves of the wire from hitting you. You find out your classmate, Noelle, has been captured by Queen, giving an early entrance to the main antagonist of this chapter. She then uses the wires to transform the NPCs from earlier into enemy wire-wires, which puts the player into their first battle of the chapter. In battles, you have 5 different actions: fighting, acting, items, sparing, and defending. And you pretty much serve as like the team leader, and you can choose your actions for your teammates as well. Acting in particular is a unique mechanic that lets your team avoid killing enemies and allows you to actually befriend them depending on the context. In this situation, acting allows Susie to pretty much throw Chris at the wires to cut them down instead of actually like fighting the enemy. Then when it's the enemy's turn, you have to dodge multiple different patterns of attacks, similar to a bullet hell type of game. After acting, it fills up the enemy's mercy meter, which when it's at 100, it allows you to spare the enemy, which pretty much can end the battle. Rauzai finds us, and we proceed downwards, leading to And after being in that small, soundless area above, the player is warmly greeted with upbeat music and a large, bright city ahead. This joyful, futuristic type theme sticks throughout most of the level, and with multiple different holograms and bright colors. This is where the main gameplay loops pretty much starts, combining new enemies, exploration, and puzzles all in one area. First, an extremely challenging word puzzle. Then, teacup rides where the player is guided with arrows to move left or right to spin and collect the upwards arrows to twist upwards. And then there are multiple sections where you have to avoid the falling attacks. The player meets with Queen again, and even though she is supposed to be a villain, she helps the upbeat theme with her dialogue and exaggerated pop-ups throughout the level. And instead of a life or death boss battle, she invites you to play an arcade game, which ends up being a Punch-Out clone for some reason. The main gameplay loop starts again, and the creator utilizes all of the puzzle's previous sections and puts more twists on them. No pun intended. The player then fights the sweet Captain Cakes, who were previously NPCs, and the flying boombox person who was attacking you before. And eventually you get them all to dance, the battle ends. The next big section, the player and friends are on fast roller coasters with a good view of the city and the dark fountain nearing, which is the glowing light in the middle. You find out your classmate Birdley has also entered the dark world and has taken Queen's side. After successfully bumping Birdley's car to blow up, the team crashes and conveniently lands in a pile of trash. Eventually the player reaches a point where they split up with their friends and enter the city portion of the cyber world, which is the overall name of the chapter, which has a darker atmosphere but stays upbeat. The player is then introduced to puzzles where you can stop and slow traffic, which will be a common theme ahead. Afterwards, you find and help your classmate Noelle, who joins you for the upcoming gameplay loop section. This includes moving blocks to guide mice into holes and more traffic puzzles. After completing the puzzle, an enemy blocks a tight corridor you need to proceed. This enemy positioning is important because it forces you to fight it, which serves as a tutorial, not for you, but for Noelle. She has never been to the Dark World prior to this and has never battled, so funnily, the enemy breaks the fourth wall to explain it. Coming up to this road allows you and Noelle to see Susie and Rosai, and pretty much foreshadows where you should be to regroup with your friends. Then you find yourself at a harder mouse puzzle, then just cheese. And then a cheese puzzle. Finally, you reach the final annoying mouse room, with a twist where now you guide the mice at Noelle to make her jump away from the timed falling platforms. After saving Noelle, both of you fight Birdly, representing a boss battle. And ride in Queen's car for a small random game. You then find yourself in traffic, which is really exaggerated, with the cars copied and pasted 2,000 times. When you get to the other side, you fight Spamton, a spammer, then flip the switch of the traffic. Queen leaves again, leading you and Noelle to a straightforward road without enemies, where both of you step on buttons to help each other through barriers. Rather than challenging the player with a new puzzle, this simple part of the level is used to allow Noelle to dialogue about her past and to reveal the backstory of how you all used to play together. Finally, you reunite with your friends, and the four of you continue ahead solving more mice-related puzzles. Then finding Queen and Queen's mansion with the dark fountain. She ends up capturing you all, leaving you unable to move in the cage. To escape, the player must go to their inventory to use Lancer, who was a friend from Chapter 1, You then solve puzzles where you have to fill in the shape and other shapes and make a plan with Birdly to save Noelle. A save point and a shop are placed as a way to represent the calm before the storm, a time to get items before fully entering Queen's mansion. The Queen's Mansion, definitely my favorite part of Chapter 2, is an ultimate combination of all level design and gameplay aspects all put into one fast-paced area. The creator combined everything Chapter 2 has to offer while having a completely unique experience at the same time. There are fire-breathing artworks you have to avoid, butlers who will chase you if you break pottery, maids who will attack you for organizing art wrong, and even the puzzles in this section become unpredictable. With all of this madness also includes familiar teacup rides, which now can damage you, and a variety of different traffic puzzles, and even a mice puzzle. It's like this section was a test from all of the previous obstacles the player has gone through, while still feeling like a fresh experience. The general pace and mood of the game at this point slows down as you and Rousai split up with Susie. The action music shifts to a calm melody as you ride a swan ship over battery acid. You're introduced to small little houses which foreshadow the upcoming puzzles and battle. The ride then gets blocked, forcing the player to search for a way to unblock it and solve unique puzzles on the way. Afterwards, you have to fight rules in a battle where you have to beat him in a board game to get the most houses. This section really shows how minimalistic and creative Toby Fox is, because he pretty much just created an area of gameplay with only small red and blue houses. Afterwards, the group comes back together. They are met with the same wires from the beginning of the chapter, and after passing those, you finally face Queen. However, using the same trend as the first battle, where she uses wires to create enemies, she uses wires to mind control Birdly, making the fight a struggle to try to free his wire while avoiding Queen's onslaught of attacks. At this point, I will wrap up the video to not spoil the rest of the Chapter 2 experience if you haven't played it yet. Overall, Toby Fox's creativity seems almost endless, as he is capable of so much with so little. His minimalistic approach starts with simple concepts such as guiding mice with blocks, or finding a key, spinning teacups, small red and blue houses, buttons that clear barriers, and so much more, that he just recycles to create what feels like a brand new experience. Toby really makes the player feel the environment with the multiple changes in atmospheres and the use of foreshadowing the setting with only a few details. Deltarune is strongly dialogue based, but the level design can almost tell the story itself. It makes it hard to believe that this game was only made by one person with how much you can take out of this game. Thank you for watching the video, and if you haven't played Deltarune Chapter 1 or Chapter 2, it is definitely worth the experience. These chapters in particular are free, so it's no reason. Just play it.